What if I told you your garden walls could grow fruit trees in 18 inches of depth? Japanese farmers train trees flat against vertical surfaces, producing full harvests from space that grows nothing now. 4 trees on one 8-foot wall instead of 1,600 square feet. Here's the flat tree system. Basic horizontal cordon. Plant a young apple or pear tree 12 to 18 inches from a south-facing wall. Install 2 horizontal wires 18 to 24 inches above ground, and again at 4 to 5 feet. The first year, select 2 strong branches growing in opposite directions. Tie them to the lower wire, training them horizontally left and right from the central trunk. Remove all other branches. The horizontal position slows vertical growth and encourages fruiting spurs along the entire branch length. By year 3, fruit develops along these horizontal arms. One tree occupies 6 to 8 feet of wall width, but only 18 inches of depth. Multi-tier horizontal. Expand the single-tier cordon vertically by adding upper tiers. Install horizontal wires every 12 to 18 inches up the wall to 6 or 8 feet total height. Train the first tier as described above. The second year, allow vertical growth from the center and train 2 more branches horizontally on the second tier. Continue annually until you have 3 to 5 tiers stacked vertically. Each tier produces fruit independently. A 5-tier espalier on an 8-foot wall yields 60 to 100 pounds of fruit annually from the same footprint. A single tier produces 20 to 30 pounds. The tiered structure maximizes vertical space, turning an entire wall into a productive canopy. All fruit remains within arm's reach. No ladders needed for harvest or pruning. Fan pattern. The fan pattern suits stone fruits like peaches, plums, and cherries better than horizontal cordons. Plant the tree and immediately cut the main trunk back to 12 to 18 inches above ground. This forces multiple branches to emerge from the base. Select 5 to 7 of the strongest shoots growing in different directions. Train them at angles radiating upward from the central point like ribs of a fan. Tie each branch to wires or bamboo canes arranged in the fan shape. The branches spread from 30 degrees to 70 degrees from vertical, creating the fan silhouette. This pattern establishes faster than horizontal cordons because you're working with the tree's natural tendency to grow upward. Stone fruit wood is less flexible than apples or pears, making horizontal training difficult. The angled fan accommodates their growth habit while maintaining the flat wall-hugging form. Japanese peach growers traditionally use fan espalier on south walls, where the reflected heat improves fruit sweetness and ripening. Belgian fence. The Belgian fence creates a geometric pattern using multiple trees planted close together and trained at opposing angles. Plant trees every 2 to 3 feet along a wall or fence. Train each tree at a 45-degree angle. Alternate the angle direction with each successive tree. Tree 1 leans right. Tree 2 leans left. Tree 3 leans right. Where the angled trunks cross, they create diamond-shaped spaces in a lattice pattern. This design fills a long wall quickly with high-density planting. A 20-foot wall accommodates 8 to 10 trees in the Belgian fence versus 2 to 3 trees in standard horizontal cordons. The overlapping canopy creates visual interest while the high tree count multiplies production. Each tree individually produces less than a multi-tier cordon, but the collective yield from the dense planting exceeds it. The pattern works best for vigorous varieties that fill in the lattice framework rapidly. Maintenance requires diligent pruning to prevent the crossing trees from shading each other excessively. Vertical cordon. Vertical cordons fit into the narrowest spaces where even horizontal espalier won't work. Train the tree as a single straight trunk with no horizontal branches. All fruiting occurs on short spurs emerging directly from the main trunk. The tree grows 6 to 8 feet tall and only 12 to 18 inches wide. Multiple vertical cordons planted on 18 to 24-inch spacing create a productive wall. A 10-foot wall section supports 5 to 6 vertical cordons. Each produces 15 to 25 pounds of fruit annually. The collective harvest from 6 trees equals 90 to 150 pounds from 10 linear feet of wall. This density is impossible with any other training system. The narrow form also works along driveways, between buildings, or in raised beds where depth is extremely limited. Harvest and pruning are simple, since all fruit grows on short spurs at chest height within easy reach. The primary maintenance is summer pruning to remove any side branches trying to develop and keeping the tree strictly vertical. Palmette verrier. The Palmette verrier is a formal French-Belgian pattern adapted by Japanese gardeners for aesthetic formality. It creates symmetrical U-shaped branches rising from a central trunk in parallel pairs. Plant the tree and establish a short trunk, 18 to 24 inches tall. From this point, train 2 branches horizontally as in the basic cordon. After these branches extend 12 to 18 inches horizontally, bend them upward 90 degrees, creating vertical U-shapes. The branches now grow vertically parallel to each other and to the central trunk. You can repeat this pattern, creating multiple sets of U-shapes at different heights. The resulting form is highly architectural and ornamental. Japanese temple gardens use this pattern where aesthetic formality is paramount. The upward growing arms produce fruit on spurs along their length, just as horizontal branches would. The visual impact is more dramatic than simple horizontal tiers, while maintaining the flat wall-hugging profile. This pattern requires more years to establish than simpler forms, but creates a living sculpture that is both productive and beautiful. Oblique cordon. Oblique cordons train the entire tree as a single branch angled at 45 degrees. Plant trees every 18 to 24 inches along a wall. Cut the young tree to 18 inches and select the strongest shoot. Train it upward at a 45-degree angle, tying it to wires or canes arranged at that angle. Remove all other growth, maintaining the single angled stem. The angled position triggers fruiting spur development along the entire length. A mature oblique cordon reaches 6 to 8 feet long, measured along its angled trajectory. Planted at close spacing, the overlapping angled trees create a solid fruit-bearing surface. This pattern suits varieties that fruit heavily on spurs rather than requiring horizontal branches. The angle is optimal for encouraging fruiting while still allowing enough vertical growth to cover the wall height. Japanese commercial growers use oblique cordons in greenhouses, where maximizing fruit per square foot of ground and wall space is economically critical. The system produces exhibition-quality fruit because every apple or pear receives full sunlight exposure on the unshaded angled surface. Stepover apples. Stepover apples are ultra-dwarf trees trained horizontally at 12 to 18 inches above ground level. They edge pathways, borders, or raised beds, creating productive borders at ankle height. Use extremely dwarfing rootstocks like M27 that naturally stay very small. Plant trees every 4 to 6 feet along the path edge. Train a single horizontal branch parallel to the path at 12 to 15 inches height. The branch extends 3 to 4 feet on either side of the trunk, creating a low horizontal T shape you can step over while walking the path. Fruit develops on short spurs along this low horizontal branch. Harvest is at knee height, requiring no bending or reaching. The trees are purely functional borders that happen to produce fruit rather than being ornamental like most edging plants. Japanese kitchen gardens use stepover apples to define bed edges while contributing to household fruit production. Each tree produces 5 to 15 pounds of full-size apples despite the miniature tree size. A 50-foot pathway edged on both sides with stepover apples represents 20 trees producing 100 to 300 pounds of fruit from space that would typically be occupied by non-productive border plants. Freeform espalier. Freeform espalier abandons rigid geometric patterns and trains branches to follow wall features, creating artistic custom shapes. Frame a window by training branches around its perimeter. Arch branches over a doorway. Follow the roofline with angled branches. Fill an irregular wall section between windows with branches that mirror the available space. This approach embraces the Japanese aesthetic principle of wabi-sabi, finding beauty in irregularity and imperfection. Each tree becomes unique, responding to its specific location rather than conforming to a predetermined pattern. The training is more intuitive than geometric, especially. You guide branches where the wall has space rather than forcing them into prescribed angles. This flexibility makes espalier accessible to gardeners intimidated by the precision required for formal patterns. The fruit production may be slightly less optimized than geometric patterns, but the visual integration with architecture creates living art. Japanese farmhouses traditionally train fruit trees to grow around building features, creating organic sculptural forms that blur the boundary between functional agriculture and ornamental horticulture. Why standard trees waste space? Standard fruit trees are bred and grown for commercial orchards where land is abundant and mechanical harvest is required. A standard apple tree on seedling rootstock grows 15 to 20 feet tall and equally wide, occupying 300 to 400 square feet of ground. For a commercial orchard, this makes sense because machinery needs space to access trees. For a home garden with limited space, this is absurd. The average suburban lot is 5,000 to 10,000 square feet total. Dedicating 400 square feet to a single fruit tree means one tree occupies 4 to 8% of your entire property. Most people can't justify that. They choose ornamental trees instead and buy fruit at stores. This disconnects households from fruit production and wastes the potential of existing walls and fences. Every property has vertical surfaces: house walls, garage walls, fences between properties, shed walls. These surfaces currently produce nothing. They're thermal mass, privacy screens, or structural necessities but not productive space. Espalier transforms these surfaces into orchards without consuming additional ground area. The vertical surface was already there doing nothing. Training a tree against it adds food production while maintaining the surface's original function. A typical property might have 100 linear feet of suitable wall or fence surfaces. That's 12 to 20 espalier trees possible compared to 2 to 3 standard trees the ground space allows. The fruit production multiplies by 6 to 10 times. The labor investment increases modestly. Espalier requires more pruning skill and time than standard trees. But the pruning is easier because all branches are accessible at arm level. No ladders, no climbing, no reaching into dense canopy trying to find fruit. Everything is visible and within reach. The aesthetic benefit is often overlooked. Standard trees are fine but generic. Every neighborhood has the same ornamental trees planted repeatedly. An espaliered fruit tree is distinctive. The winter structure is sculptural. Spring blossoms create floral displays. Summer fruit development is visible and decorative. Fall harvest is abundant. The tree provides year-round visual interest while producing food. This dual function embodies the Japanese design principle of objects serving multiple purposes elegantly. Your first espalier tree. Start with one tree this spring. Choose an apple or pear variety on dwarfing rootstock like M26 or M9. Find a south or west-facing wall or fence that receives 6+ hours of sun daily. Install 3 horizontal wires 12 inches apart at heights of 2 feet, 3 feet, and 4 feet. Plant the bare root tree in early spring 12 to 18 inches from the wall. Cut the main trunk to just below the first wire at 2 feet height. This forces branching. When new shoots emerge, select 2 growing in opposite directions parallel to the wall. Tie them to the first wire, training them horizontally. Remove all other shoots. Throughout summer, tie the extending branches to the wire every 6 inches, maintaining horizontal orientation. Remove any vertical growth from the horizontal branches. Next spring, allow vertical growth from the center to reach the second wire. Repeat the process, selecting 2 branches for the second tier. Continue annually until all 3 tiers are established. By year 4, you have a trained espalier producing fruit. The process teaches you pruning timing, tying techniques, and how the tree responds to training. That knowledge allows you to expand to more complex patterns or additional trees with confidence. The space reality. Standard fruit trees need 400 square feet each. Espalier trees occupy 18 inches of depth against existing walls. 4 espalier trees fit where one standard tree would grow. Same harvest from 1/4 the ground space. That's quadrupled production from space you already own.